Maybe their mic just was off.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, anyway, it was a pretty good recap. We could probably give it about 2 more minutes. Um, and then I think in the beginning, the first session, what we talked about was basically reducing your debt, right? So if you can reduce your debt, you just have more money. It's as simple as that, right? Those student loans are stacking up, right? My student loans for example, they want about $800 a month. But if I didn't have student loans, that'd be $800 that goes towards me. My favorite example is paying off your car. Usually the two biggest expenses in your life tend to be your house and your car, regardless of education. For those of us who like to pursue the highest forms of education, usually we have to get those student loans along the way. So that becomes one of the third biggest expense that you pretty much have. But that's an investment in self because you're going to make a return on that for sure. Your house obviously will go increase in value with equity over time. Your car will depreciate. And so I paid off my car this year, and then I was instantly able to buy a new car. And I bought that car outright. And what made it easy was the fact that I just sold my old car privately, took the money, walked on over, got a new car, and put some more money on top and drove off. And I do not have a car note. My car insurance went from about $200 a month. I'm sorry, no, it was $162 a month. And then now my car insurance is $71 a month because I can just have liability. And that's because if I destroy this car or crash this car, I have enough money to buy a new one. And as I reduce debt, I can save more. I can invest in myself more. I can put myself in positions to have money when I need it. So if there's one thing that I can encourage you all to do is to decrease your debt so you have more access to your money. Second thing that I encourage you to do is increase your income. So you just increase how much access to money that you actually have. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income, and you should have, as close to 7 as you possibly can get. They don't have to be 7 different streams of income, but just 7 streams. For example, I've written 3 books, so each book is technically a stream. But the way I'm building businesses now, eventually I'm just going to merge those 3 together and just count it as one.
I think somebody has a question.
Yeah, a really quick question before we get started today.
Leasing a car. All right, Amal. I don't like it. I'll be 100% with you. I do not like leasing a car because I don't like making monthly payments. I don't like anyone calling me saying, hey, don't forget to pay us your money this month. I only play the credit game because I have to. So if you're leasing a car because you need to increase or boost your credit, go ahead. If you're really good about your money and you're making more than enough money to not worry about having a lease and having to pay that monthly, go ahead. That's fine. For me, there's stress there driving a car and knowing I have to pay for it every month. And I'm more of a behavioral person when it comes to finances than I am a number person when it comes to finances. I'm good at finances and have helped people with their money because I talk about character. I talk about behavior 90% of the time, and 10% of the time I'm talking about numbers. Have I heard of the book Millionaire Next Door? Yes, by John Stanley, I believe. So we actually talked about that for a brief moment last week. I actually owe you all a recording. I have it. I have not sent it. My apologies. I just remembered that right now, and I think I'm recording this one. So, okay, I'll just send you 2 at a time. I might have to put it in a Google Drive or a Zip. But I definitely suggest reading The Millionaire Next Door. You'll be shocked to find out in that book that 35% of millionaires drive a Ford F-150. The majority of them own some type of essential business, if you will, whether it's real estate, which about 90% are involved in real estate in some form or fashion, whether it's at least owning their home, if not owning other property. You'll find out that 90% of millionaires are married. quick fact, so they're not all like Iron Man. Let's see. What was something else from that book that just really stood out to me? This is another millionaire book that came from Chris Hogan, but Chris Hogan said the average millionaire has a 2,000 square foot home. Oh yeah, many millionaires are first generation. I think, I forget the actual number. I want to say it's 82% of millionaires are first generation. I also want to say this: people, don't forget about thousandaires. Like, if you have $100,000 in the bank and you have a $500,000 home in LA and you're making, $80,000 a year, you are winning in my book. Okay, so just to put some stuff out here in perspective, in order to be, sorry, my CFO is calling me. In order to be in the top 10% of earners in the entire United States of America, you need to earn $118,000 or more. By earning $80,000 or more, you're now in the top 20%. Okay, the average person makes $47,000 a year. The average 4-person family makes $59,000 a year. And so just the level set, always remember you're living at a price in California, in LA that matches San Francisco and New York. But there are about 40 some odd states in between New York and LA that can live a much more humble life. And trust me, $60,000 for a 4-person family does just fine. They got a car. They're going to school,
And also, could you briefly touch upon how marriage impacts your income, especially as a millionaire?
Right. Marriage essentially doubles your income and cuts your expenses in half. So, and I'm trying to do my best for a recap now, because I know at the end we might not have everybody. And credit in my opinion, is the shortest conversation to have. But I promise you all, I will definitely get to it. Give me maybe 2 more minutes. But yes, if there's anything else that you want to mention or should be mentioned that we talked about that you think is really important for this quick recap, this might be a good clip to put on YouTube or something like that. But please drop it in the chat. Or just mention it. But yes, if you get married, let's say you're making $50,000 and you marry somebody who's making $40,000, together you're now making $90,000, and each of you are probably paying, let's say, the way LA goes, let's say, I don't know, $1,500 for rent a piece. Now you can move into an apartment that's $2,000 and you're paying $1,000 a piece, right? There's also tax benefits because you're married, so you get a little bit more deductibles. And so those are just ways, life hacks, not even a life hack. It's like a long-term plan, right? Marriage, long-term. Don't do this just so you can make it through, grad school, become a doctor. And then I'm not supporting marriage, divorce. I'm talking about if you, have your love and it's lined up and you can get your finances lined up with that and y'all can hop on a plan together and it makes sense and you can get married. That is a great way to be able to keep your money together, especially since 90% of millionaires are married. So you're just giving yourself a better shot at that point. Now, what your requirements are to get married, I will not dive into that at all. I know where my expertise stop. It's a good financial strategy. I have no advice beyond that. No timeline, no rush, no dates, no deadlines. All right, so I put myself in an awkward space. Now let's move on. Is there anything else that we'd like to talk about that we have talked about in the last 2 weeks that we should bring up before we dive into credit? All right. We talked about the debt snowball versus debt avalanche. Thank you, Prince. So, so the debt avalanche is for those people who are financial. You just need the numbers to work out. You're going to pay your highest interest rate debt first, and then go from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate and pay it all the way down. So financially, mathematically, that is the fastest way to pay off your debt. Once again, I'm a behavior guy. I'm all about habits and character. So that financial plan doesn't work for me because it's not emotional enough. I need some small emotional wins. That's where the debt snowball comes in. And the debt snowball is fantastic because it allows you to pay the smallest debt first, and then the smallest debt after that, and then the debt that's just bigger than that, and you keep going all the way until you have your largest debt. But by the time you get to your largest debt, you're throwing the minimum payment from every other small debt before that at that larger debt, and that's a great way to win. If you look at Dave Ramsey on YouTube, he talks about the debt snowball, especially for those of you who are interested in how to do it. As a married couple, you can actually look at people talk about their debt-free journey and how they did it both individually and how they did it also as a married couple on a lot of his YouTube. If you look up the debt-free scream, Dave Ramsey. I'll put that up there. So he's big on no debt either. Way more than me. I'm just not for leasing a car. He's not about having debt of any kind. I believe in playing the debt game, but just playing it the right way. So eventually, you should also establish your own morals and standards and just rules for money as well. That's going to become really important because you're always going to be around people who have different spending habits, who find different ways to get to success. And so, for example, there might be somebody who borrows money to success. So they're worth $10 million, but they borrow $9 million, and they can't even tell you where that last $1 million is really located, right? But all they're happy with is that they're worth $10 million. Then there's other people who will be like, okay, I'm worth $1 million, but I own all of my property outright completely, my car, and I'm bringing in through some form of income or multiple streams of income, maybe $100,000 a year. So both people have access to $1 million, but it's like, how do you want to do that? And that's what you have to understand for yourself. That way, when you go to dinner, and you're with your friends, you know what type of person you are. For example, I'm the let's just split the check evenly all the way around type of person versus the let's count every single cent. You had 2 sips of Coke. I had 4 sips of Sprite. And now, like, there's a difference there on how what we're paying. I'm like, too big of a headache. Like, it's 10 of us. The bill's $100. Everybody pay $10. I don't care if you had 2 bites or if you ate more than me. But that's just my values. Yeah. Okay. Last question before I dive in from Natasha. What are your suggestions to someone who inherits tons of money and they are clueless how to maintain or grow that wealth? Wow. I wish I could inherit tons of money. My God, that'd be amazing. But one, I've never been in this position in my life, so this is just completely opinionated. Just backed by all the financial facts that I've been able to read and experience in my life, and learn from my mentors. So if I was that person, let's say it's $1 million. That's a lot to me. I'm gonna just assume it's a lot to most people on the call. With $1 million inherited by me, my goal would be able to make that $1 million into $10 million. And then I would want to do so over a 20-year period. So with that $1 million, I would take probably $250,000 and tell them, $100,000, tell them just put that in the bank and save that. And then find a way to create income that they can live off of and never live off of the $1 million, so they can invest 90% of it. And then invest that in a diversified portfolio. So now I'm buying a piece of property, like some real estate. Okay, they will continue to work. Great. So if you continue to work, whatever your annual income is, I will tell that person, pull that out and have fun. Put it in, emergency fund, have fun. I just said $100,000 to start. But then I'm taking 90% of this regardless at minimum, and I'm investing it. I'm buying real estate and apartment buildings, so that way I have people who are now paying me rent from owning an apartment building. And with that, that should pay my rent. So I should never pay rent again because I have people paying me rent, and I just use that as rent, my own rent money. So now I'm still earning the same income that I had before, and I'm still sitting on, let's say this person earns $100,000 a year, still sitting on $100,000 in the bank that is completely insured by the federal government, and that's just there, sitting as a safety net should things go awry. 12 months savings for an emergency fund is actually what I would suggest anyways, but for expenses, not for your total income. Then after that, I would go speak to a venture capital firm and see if I can put my money in with the VC firm and then take some more riskier investments and invest in tech. I'm trying to find tech companies that I can invest in, throw in anywhere from $50,000 to $250,000, but I want to do it with a VC firm so I don't have to put in the whole, $300,000, $400,000 myself. I could do it in collaboration with other people. And I think that is the best way to invest that money. And then if they have any debt, pay all that off. Yep. Rainy day fund. Yeah. Rainy day fund of 12-month expenses, pay off all your debt, and then invest whatever you have left. Yeah, definitely have that emergency fund. 12-month expenses. Expenses is what you actually spend. And there's a difference between your expenses and your necessities. I'm not sure if we talked about that. Your necessities are going to be like your food, rent, utilities, transportation, essentially all the things you need to still be a functioning human being, in my opinion. Your expenses might be all the other stuff that you pay for, right? So now you have some subscriptions, your Netflix, your Apple Music or something, Tidal, whatever you use, Spotify. All that's not necessary. I know you need music, but technically you don't. Not to be alive, maybe to feel alive, but not to be alive. But include that in your expenses. I would have an emergency fund for that. Or I do, actually. All right. Credit. Okay, you know who I am. You can follow me at Motivation Requires Growth on Instagram and YouTube. I just started my YouTube and this Instagram. This is going to be for the business side. I've been doing these presentations for years, like 8 years. This is Miles Goodlow. But now I'm going to do it under the brand Motivation Requires Growth, which is all about financial and mental wellness. All right. That is a plane I am building while I'm flying it. Literally started that like a month ago, so it looks real raw. All right, here we go. What are forms of credit? So if you've done this before with me, you pretty much know where I'm going. Can you all see this at the top where it says text Miles Goodlow 385 to 22333? We've been doing this every week. This is literally my favorite breakout. Everybody likes to be on their phones anyways. I say go ahead and pull it out and text me what are the different forms of credit. So that means I apply for this and they give me some type of loan that I have to pay back. They're giving me money I have to pay back. That's my most simple understanding of credit without giving you an example. Things that might pop up on your credit score. What affects your credit score? Those are the right answers. You just want to text those in as one answer. If this is your first time doing it, you might get 2 texts to get started. If you did it last week and you didn't leave the conversation, you should be here. Okay, there we go. All right, don't use the word credit unless you're going to use it together with credit cards. What are other forms of credit. Other form of credit are going to be anything that gives you debt. What are the things that you can go into debt for? It's the same answer as what do you use credit for? When you say personal, what do you mean personal? Personal what? What are you spending on? Personal credit, as in credit between you and another person? Payday, yeah, payday loans, yep. I hate payday loans. If I could one day shut down every payday loan cash advance space in the world, I would. I'd do it tomorrow. Shopping, right. Let's be real. Education, right. Let's be real. What type of loans? Loans is huge. Tell me what type of loans. Blank loans or blank loans. Blank loans or blank loans. What is blank? Mortgage, yes. You might do it only once or twice, but it'll be a big number for sure. Yeah, medical. Yeah, so there's so many different ways that you can get loans. You can build credit, have debt. You really want to be mindful of what you're doing and why you're doing it. I think it's incredibly important to understand why you're going into debt, what you're doing it for, and what your goal is. Like I said, a mortgage and cars are going to be probably the two biggest expenses besides student loans. Those are going to be the three biggest ones. You need to manage those debts very, very smartly. And the way that I would encourage you to do so is to buy less than what you can. So what I mean by that is, well, student loans, yeah, go ahead, go crazy. You're chasing down a medical pathway. It's just going to be expensive. I 100% support that because most of your careers in the medical field will give you more than enough money to be able to pay it back in a timely fashion. Car loans, I say buy less car than what you really need. Always. Well, I don't even like car loans, but the reality. And then you have your mortgage. I would say buy less house than you really need. I know that sounds crazy. I know no one's saying that. Everybody wants a big old house, pool, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's really smart to be able to buy a house that you know that you can pay off. One thing that you can also do when you're buying a house is you can buy one house, pay that house off, and then leverage that to buy the house that you really want. And what I mean by leverage that is, and you can do it, in any way. But let's say you buy a condo for $250,000 in LA. After you buy that $250,000 condo, let's say you pay that off in 10 years. Now, after that, you have that condo, you're paying for HOA fees. Let's say it's at a humble $400 a month. HOA is basically the housing authority. So it's the people who's going to make sure that that condo is probably inside of a building that has a pool and hallways that are public. There's no responsibility for any individual resident to clean. So they have, HOA take care of all those public spaces to make sure that everything remains clean. So now your rent per month in LA is like $400 a month for this great old condo, 1,000 square feet, blah, blah, blah. But you bought that while you are, let's say, unmarried. Then you get married, have a couple kids. And you're like, all right, this studio condo or this 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo is not big enough for a family of 4. What you can do is now take that house and use it as a down payment for another house. So if you want to upgrade to a house that's $500,000, you now have $250,000 or whatever your equity is for that condo at this point after paying it off in 10 years to essentially be the down payment for your new house. And maybe you move into a $500,000 house and only owe $150,000 or $200,000 because you've built up equity and paid off a house already. And that's how you can leverage loans in a positive way, but you got to have good credit to do stuff like this. And so you have those personal loans that you can get from banks. You can also have personal loans between you and someone else that you know, like your mom or a cousin or a friend. I would suggest to you, never lend money to a friend. It's usually the payoff to the end of the friendship. So if you need the money, keep it. Say you don't have it. If you don't need the money, then you can lend it to them. But now it doesn't matter. They give it back to you. So that way your friendship isn't on the line. So when it comes to building credit, here's a percentage breakdown of what matters. Have you all seen this before? You can just answer in the chat. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Have you used this before? No, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay. All right. Somebody's focusing on that now. Somebody used this in order to get approved for their car. Awesome. Yeah. So when you're using your credit and you're engaging in things that you know is going to affect your credit, you want to use this. And you can look at this breakdown anywhere. Literally just Google like what makes my credit score. This is on Credit Karma. It's on Experian. It should be on any type of valid credit site. You can find it on things like NerdWallet. I'm a big advocate for Credit Karma, Experian, checking your credit. We'll talk about that in I think the next slide, maybe a slide after. But you should know the percentage breakdown of your credit. And this is everyone's. This is what everything is being calculated in here. So it's important that you actually think about that. The two biggest ones are what? $65% of your FICO score is going to be calculated based upon your payment history. Do you pay on time? There is no CPT for your credit. You have to pay on time. I suggest automatic payments. And then what you owe is the next biggest one. And it says 30%. I would suggest never owe more than 30% of what you possibly could on a credit card. The closer to 10% or zero, the better. I'm a big fan of whatever you spend on your credit card, let the bill cycle come and then pay it off. Mercedes, can you go in further about what you mean about the statute of limitations? Can you clarify that?
Well, because I know that some things have a statute of limitations about 7 to 10 years, and it'll go off your credit. Mm-hmm. And then there are other things that don't. So like student loans, yeah, you ain't getting out of that one. So what are like other things that are in that bracket of that are not under statute of limitations?
So what are the things that are not under the statutes of limitations?
Like student loans and medical bills.
Right. So you're talking about things that necessarily can show up on your credit report as a debt, but doesn't necessarily directly affect your credit score.
No, that shows up as a debt that'll never come off. Because one thing I've noticed is like, say 7 years ago, I had a parking ticket and that came off. But let's just say one of my medical bills, it never came off. Make sense? So I'm just trying to get more clarity.
It should come off. And you might just need to write a letter to the credit bureau to tell them that it needs to come off.
Okay, so write a letter, know the basic information of the bill, and then hopefully that they would write it off.
Well, no, they should if it's reached past the 7-year mark.
So where would I find like information on like 7, 10 years statute of limitations and it doesn't come off anymore? Like, I just want to know what are things that don't come off that can directly affect the credit score. Because if it can come off, I will definitely be calling and writing some people like, hey, let's fix this.
Yeah, that's usually where I work with a credit like report specialist. I just have I have one that I work with or have worked with before in the past, because they know some of those specific intricate details at that point. So yeah, I can try and find something or reach out to some of my people in my network and see if I can find some specific information on the statute of limitations. I would definitely have to research more about that.
Yeah, because I had about 5,000 in debt and I went all the way down to 200. So I'm trying to basically perfect my credit score at this point. And I have a medical bill from a long time ago that I'm just very curious on.
Okay, yeah, that's a specific case, and I don't do like credit fixing per se, where I think somebody who's into credit fixing full time will be able to really dive into that because they'll be able to look at your credit report, see that specific issue, and then understand exactly what you need to do. When I've had to deal with something similar, I was able to write a letter and then get that written off of my credit report. And I had to write that to the bureau specifically because it was the bureau who was reporting it, even though I satisfied that debt with the medical center. Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. Sorry, Prince. I'm trying to read your question right now.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, so basically, for other people who may not be reading, so what I'm asking is basically, are you able to negotiate with companies or organizations with regards to interest, like to either extend the time or decrease the rate of what you owe?
So, are you talking about specifically being in, like, owing a credit card? Like, is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and you want to decrease the interest rate?
Yes.
And then extend the deadline for when you can pay some money?
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, so I've seen this happen in one of two ways. The first way is that you already have really good credit, so you asking this is rare, and they're like, sure, we'll adjust that so that we can keep you as a customer, right? Because you're a customer for every credit card company that you have a credit card for. And since you're in good standing, you show great things, and you're, maybe you leverage this and say, hey, I'm just looking to maybe jump over and go to American Express and leave Capital One. So like, can you really match what they're offering me over here? Because it just seems like a better way. And if you have a good credit score, and I'm going to say a good credit score is going to be definitely in the 700s, 750 plus is probably premier. And then you'll be able to get your way. It's possible. They'll at least open up to the negotiations. I can't guarantee anything because I don't work for these companies. Right. The other way is that I've seen people who have already owed the money, didn't pay the money, it got charged off by the company, then the company sells it to a third party who therefore tries to collect the debt on you. And so since the third party paid pennies on the dollar for your debt, and they're not the original owner of the debt, but a secondary owner of the debt, if you are willing to give them dimes on the dollar when they paid pennies on the dollar, they will do so, and then you can negotiate payment terms. So rather than paying one lump sum, you could pay maybe 3 or 4 lumps over 3 or 4 months, and then be able to pay a lower amount of debt at a time frame that fits you. But if you have a normal credit card, and you're like an average person, around 650 or 680, 690 credit score, somewhere in that range or below, I don't see you being able to negotiate because you don't really have any negotiation or leverage.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you basically need to have like a good reputation first before anything can ensue.
Correct, because when you have a good reputation, having your business means more. And people with better credit scores and good reputations tend to know more people with better scores and good reputations. And so nothing's going to beat that word of mouth of customer experience for those customers who are the ideal customer profile for these companies.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So, okay, Amal said, if I stop using my credit card, does that affect the score? Eventually it will. If you're not using your credit card, the credit card company may even close your card. That'd take a while, but and a while being maybe a year or two of not using your card. But your credit score is going up because it's showing that you have the ability to take money out on a loan and garner debt and then be able to pay back that debt in a timely and efficient fashion. So if you're not taking out debt, aka not using your credit card, then you are not playing the game the way they want the game to be played, and your score will be lowered. So the way that you can check on your scores, you can go to Experian. I believe it's about $20 a month for Experian, maybe $25 now. And you can get a copy of your credit report for all 3 credit bureaus. Does anybody know the credit bureaus? Can you type that in the chat? It's 3 different ones. Experian is one. What are the other 2? Trans something. Yeah, TransUnion. There's one more. Yep, and Equifax. So you can get your free credit report at freecreditreport.com. Right, real simple, real easy to use. So I highly suggest that. Let's see, Credit Karma, we talked about that. Free app, get your credit score. It'll show you TransUnion and Equifax. I believe Credit Karma updates its credit score, I think about a month behind the real credit bureau. So it's a little lag, but if you're not looking to make any type of purchase, then you'll be fine. Jess Sandoval says, I like to use my credit card for grocery shopping and gas. That way I already have the cash available and I just pay off the card every month. Keep it open and shows good payment history. Retweet. Great plan. I do the same thing, but I do mine with gas for my car. Credit repair. You can go to a credit repair specialist, but they'll probably charge you anywhere from $500 to $5,000 to help you repair your credit. And that's going to come into being able to send in those letters, getting things off your credit report, getting those fixes, making sure that you have somebody who does this all day, every day, who knows how to get the best responses and put you in the best situation that might be able to help you get bumped up 50 to 100 points on your credit score. But it's really going to come down to those 2 big 65% bubbles. And so 65% bubbles that we looked at before is how much that you owe and then whether you're paying on time. Because most of what credit report companies are doing, in my opinion, are really looking at this right-hand side, your length of credit history, your credit mix, and new credit. So one thing that people have done is that if you have a grandma with a great credit score and she's had a credit card for 20 years, you want her to go ahead and take out a credit card in your name on her account so that you can get that 20-year history, and now your credit score will jump up huge because now you'll have a card that says you have a 20-year history. You could really boost up your credit score. That's called a trade line. And so that's also how families set up people to have great credit. And this is how some grandma or somebody's mom or dad can have their child graduate high school and step out into an 800 credit score because that child has been on somebody else's credit the whole time, and it looks great. So if you have an older family member or a close friend of the family that's willing to do that for you, that can be huge for your credit score. Yeah, Natasha has some great tips right now for Experian app. I've actually done all of this. I've had the Experian app, used it, and then also used the boost as well by adding my I think it's my my Wi-Fi bill and my phone bill. Yep. And then Natasha's also reinforcing that she can just add you without the ability to use the credit card. Right. So I would say they need to take the credit card out in your name and have it sent to them, and then they can just cut it up as soon as they get it so that you never use it. But then that gives them safety and security that they know that you're not going to use it, and at the same time also boost your credit score. And then there's also secured cards. Do you know about secured credit cards? So if you have not had a credit card before and you're not getting approved for a credit card, what you can do is you can take $500 or more of your own money and put it down for a secured credit card. So they'll give you a $500 limit because you gave them $500, and then now you have a $500 credit card with a $500 credit card limit, and that bank, which looks at your credit as non-existent or maybe not the strongest or more suppressive, which, you know, you could have a low credit score of, like, let's say less than 650. Then you will be able to actually have a credit card now and start building credit. And they don't really have any risk that they're taking because they already have your money. So if you decide to just not pay and you reach your $500 max limit, they're like, oh, okay, well, we already have $500 from you, so it doesn't matter. But you want to use those cards smartly and wisely and do some of the things that Natasha was talking about and Jessica was talking about. What companies have secured credit cards? Let's take a look. Open Sky has a card. First Progress has a card. I found this on NerdWallet. I highly suggest this for anybody who doesn't have, above like a 650, 700. You look at the credit scores of people who usually have these cards, build it up. I think Open Sky, you can get up to 3,000. I think you do up to 2,000 on Discover. I'm not sure if Discover's on this list. Yes, it is. So great way to build your credit right here. All right, Natasha's suggesting Self, which allows you to establish a savings account and reports on your credit. And then they'll offer you a credit card after 3 months. Okay, I haven't heard of Self. Also, I haven't used Self. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that you can build your credit. And I think it's really important that you do so, that you have a great credit score. Okay, boom, Self on NerdWallet. There we go. I love NerdWallet. All right, get help. Yeah, I don't know if y'all love this little dog, but I do. All right, so this is what you can hire a credit repair specialist to do. This is also what you can do on your own, if it's up to you. But you can dispute your negative remarks. And that's going to be like having something on your record after 7 years that you know shouldn't be on there. Pay on time. That's 35% of your entire credit history. It's about whether you pay on time. Don't take your credit cards with you. If you have bad spending habits and you know that, you got to set something up to where you're going to the grocery store and you already have the cash and you know you're going to pay it off regardless. And until you can set yourself up in a system like that, like, it's important to just leave your credit cards at home unless you're specifically going to use them for strategy, right? And then set a budget with your credit. I'll leave it to my gas. That's it. Boom. All right, be disciplined. At the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to. Your credit score is about your discipline with managing debt. Do you borrow money well? And then work with a credit solutionist if you really don't know what you're doing and you have some real specific issues. I can give you my opinion on a 101 if you want to sit down and do a 101 and chat with me. But I do not live my life as a credit solutionist. I focus mostly on what I just call, finance foundations. Making sure people understand and can master the basics, because in my life, that's worked well. That's all I needed. Although I'm getting a little bit more advanced now. All right. So here's some stuff that you can do, some behaviors that you can implement, budgeting weekly or monthly, pay on time, of course. You can read because reading is free. You can go to the beach because the beach is free. You can eat at home because you already brought groceries. And you can spend less than you make. Oh, and don't forget that you can spend less than you make. Oh, and then lastly, spend less than you make. And this pretty much concludes my presentation for today. I would say if you want to look up some credit strategies and just get like that in your YouTube algorithm, look up Jay Morrison credit score. Jay Morrison credit score. I'll let you find that on your own. Let's see if I can. Boom. You know, so I have some questions for you all actually. And so we have 10 minutes left, and so if you're open to it, I would love for you all to give me your feedback and let me know what you think. And just want to ask you some questions and have a conversation. And then also if you have some other questions as well, those can come about. So do you feel like you learned something in today's session or throughout the last 2 or 3 sessions? You can just hop in the chat and say yes, or, you know, turn yourself off mute and give me a little something.
So I'd say very much so. So last week, I wasn't here for the very first session, but the second session I learned about the 7 streams of income, like what allows a millionaire to produce their income, like a steady, high income. So that was extremely helpful. It was very motivating. And all these tips just boost my intuitional foundation on how I can be a smart spender, have a high credit score, and to just make good money for my future.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That's pretty much what I was aiming for. Okay, mainly terminology. Okay, motivated by last week's session. Awesome. Awesome. That's great. If there was, what will you do now? Right? So it's great to learn a whole bunch of terminology. It's great to learn some new techniques. It's great to have a better understanding. But what actions will you all actually take now moving forward? All right, you're gonna formulate a plan of action. All right, Mercedes, are we talking about like a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan? Do you mean just like a budget for this week? Can you expand on that?
So I kind of think futuristically. So sometimes I can even think 30 years ahead. But
there you go.
For this particular situation, I'm thinking 10 years. So for the next 10 years, I have a plan. I have a plan for school. I have a plan for finances. I have a plan for where I'm going to get those finances, bills I expect to have, bills I expect to pay. As far as insurance goes, car payments go, miscellaneous file for possibly that's separate from an emergency fund. What else? Make sure that I get more resources. So I know about things like Credit Karma, but there's other resources that I don't know that are going to greatly affect my plan for the next 10 years. So one of the things that I want to do is generate enough income so that I can make passive income. That passive income is going to help me with my personal funds that are outside of my academic funds, because my academic funds are mainly on scholarships and financial aid at the moment. I have been able to go to school for 2 years without paying a large amount of money. And that has been because I've been able to find resources and utilize them. So for the next 10 years, I'm going to take those same principles, but kind of like elevate it and branch out those networks of people who are in particular businesses, such as, what did that person you say did? Go to a credit person and speak to them about certain credit report specialists and talk to them about, okay, so since I have something for the next 10 years, what do you suggest or, have an idea of what I should be doing? Not saying that I'm going to do it, but it's nice to hear some outside opinions.
Yeah, the outside opinions are going to be key. The reason I kept advocating for a credit solutionist is because I really think that at some point in time when you're talking about money, it has to get specific to who you are and what you're doing. I think it's great that you have a 10-year plan, and sitting down with someone who can coach you through how to execute your plan is absolutely key. I've invested probably more money in coaches than anything else this year, besides my rent.
So define coaches, because like what type of financial coach, like somebody that, like, break it down, because different types of coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I say coaching, I mean everything from a career coach who can just tell me how to achieve the same career goals that he achieved. Second to that, I have a sales coach because I work in sales, and sales is my profession. And that's how I was able to get into business in corporate America. Third, I also hired a therapist. So I kind of see that therapist helping me emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It's also biblically certified, so that's how I roll. And having a person who can help me stay in alignment and coach me towards my goals in those areas of life helped me overall. With that, I had more confidence and reassurance in myself and my steps. I have a Spanish coach. So every Wednesday at 5:30, I chat with my Spanish coach for 30 minutes nonstop. And that's because I got a handle on my debt and paid off my car. And then that opened up hundreds of dollars per month that I can use and spend on investing in myself, which I believe all of this would just increase my ROI. And the next time that I'm in a position to be able to make some more business deals, I'll be able to utilize all the coaching that I've invested in. So I'm hoping a year from now, all of this just starts to come to fruition. But to be honest, it's already starting, but the way that I see it in my 10-year plan.
Okay, I get what you mean now. The reason why I put educated counsel is because what you're doing is you're getting counsel. And I don't have that privilege of doing one-on-one counsel with a lot of the people at Charles Drew. So I've been talking with a lot of the professors and asking them if they know any resources, and including you, if you know anybody or any resources that you can direct towards us, since you've been having conversations with us, of somebody who you feel would be a good, somebody to converse with and to basically bounce off ideas or even gain ideas.
Ideas to achieve what?
Ideas to achieve a better financial goal, because we're in finances in this group. So if there's anybody who does taxes, you know what I mean, or not just taxes, but they also do, like you said, you had a friend that does a credit report specialist, or you know what I mean, just like people that are in your network that you feel that are beneficial to us.
Yep, I just put my email down. If you all can email me and tell me what it is that your financial goals are, so that way I have a working list. It's written down so I can go back to it. I definitely have a strong network in the financial industry and a lot of different connections with people who have achieved different financial things. I will say this, and you should know this. Some of them will be able to talk to you all just as a nice gesture. But many of the professionals are going to eventually want to charge. So you should just be aware of that. You're an adult and you're emerging adults, and everyone loves to invest in kids and in schools. So as a student, you have this is the last of your juice, in a realistic sense, to be able to get a lot of free stuff. Because once you're out of school, if you pay free, you get free quality. And if you pay more, you get more quality. And that's just how the world works. People don't want to, you should just know that as a heads up. When you're an adult asking an adult for advice, even if they're light years ahead of you in what you're trying to do, they're going to be like, oh, okay, well, it costs this much. because I pay for every single coach, and I continue to pay for every single coach I just talked about.
And also, I just followed you on your Instagram account as well. So you're saying that as soon as we give you an outline of our financial goals, you'll be able to get us in touch with these advisors?
Yeah, I have a better idea of what a type of professionals or advisors you should talk to. But I think it's going to be specific for each person. So rather than trying to go down the list and everybody just kind of put out their financial goals right now, which might be a little personal for everyone, I think it'd be better if you just email me, and then, or, if you follow me on IG, you can DM me. And then from there, I have a better idea of who I should direct you towards. And then Mercedes, I see your question. And invest in students how? When I say invest in students, people like to invest in students because it looks good. It's like one of the, staple type of, charity, give your time type of escapes in spaces. So I would say investing in helping a student, get more knowledge and understand something more and help them grow is up there with being able to, it makes people feel good, like when they feed the homeless, or it makes people feel good, like when they are, donating their time, stuff like that. But once you're an adult, like you're a grown working person, it's like, okay, well, where you put your money where your mouth is. Like, you're an adult. Like, what are you spending your money on? And if you can't afford to purchase, this level of coaching or this, that, or the other, the truth is you're not serious. It's not really a priority for you. It just sounds good. And when you're a student, everyone's welcome to you exploring the world and needing a free session or lesson or two along the way. Because we were all students and we all got that. Okay, there's some staff members who like to know if you if I would do this again. I'm always open to helping CDU. So yeah, just reach out. You all already have my contact information. There's my email there too as well. And I'm definitely down to do this again. I love this. I do this stuff all the time.
So when do you think it's possible we can have another session like this?
Well, this is the second time Miles has been at CDU, so he came last year. I think if we garner enough interest, we could probably work something out.
Yeah, and I will send you the recordings for today and last week. Sometime today, later on today, once it finishes processing. I do have to go. I do have a 1 o'clock, but I want to thank you all for coming to this session, especially those of you that were able to make it back multiple times. I really appreciate that. It was great having you all. You all are fantastic. You have my information, Instagram and email. I'm down to help as much as possible. Let's stay connected. Let's keep having a conversation. Don't be afraid to talk about money. And if you are, just talk about it with me. And we'll figure it out from there. And if I don't know the answer, I will shoot you over to my resources, the best of my ability, to people who are experts in this, because they helped me, and I'll see if they'll help you.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Have a great day, everyone.